say, what you're doing is not real. What are you doing? And then I would have to do, well, what do you mean, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm trying to be good with this partner here. And then no, wait.
Diane Keaton was 79 years old when the world lost her on October 11, 2025. But this is not simply a story about the death of an actress. This is a story about what she left behind, hidden in thousands of pages, written in her mother's shaky hand and her own unflinching confessions.
Because it's about goodbye, really. It's about not all love can last.
Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed and the bell is on, because this story goes places you won't expect. Diane Keaton was not just Annie Hall.
Diane Keaton.
You don't want me to live with you.
I don't want you to live with me. Whose idea was it?
She was not just the quirky woman in oversized hats and menswear who charmed audiences for 5 decades.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. You win.
She was something far more complex, far more human.
Well, oh well. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
She was a daughter who discovered her mother's darkest secrets 3 decades too late.
Diane, louder. Diane, move your head over there. Diane.
She was a sister who watched her brother descend into madness while she ascended to fame. She was a woman who loved 3 of Hollywood's most legendary men and lost them all. And she was someone who spent her entire life chasing something she first glimpsed at 9 years old on a stage in Highland Park, Los Angeles, something she would never quite reach. Saturday morning, October 11, 2025, 8:08 a.m. The Los Angeles Fire Department received a call. Person down, a Brentwood address. By the time paramedics arrived, Diane Keaton's sudden decline, kept secret even from close friends, had reached its devastating conclusion. A friend would later say the words that echo through every tribute. She declined very suddenly, which was heartbreaking for everyone who loved her. It was so unexpected, especially for someone with such strength and spirit. But here is what you need to understand. The shocking truth about Diane Keaton was not found in her death. It was found in her mother's diaries, 85 journals spanning 40 years.
They were not lasting. They didn't, I wasn't really a person who could really accept that kind of intimacy and grow from it and give to it.
Diaries Diane found once in the 1970s slammed shut in horror and did not open again until her mother died in 2008. What she discovered inside those pages shattered everything she thought she knew about her family, about her mother, about herself. This is that story. Diane Hall, not yet Keaton, was born on January 5, 1946 in Los Angeles. Her father, Jack, was a civil engineer who built developments across Southern California. Her mother, Dorothy, was a homemaker who once sang in a trio called 2 Dots and a Dash. They moved to Santa Ana when Diane was 10, raising 4 children in what looked from the outside like the perfect California dream. But Dorothy Diane Keaton Hall carried a wound that never healed. When she was 16 years old, her father Roy drove away from their Pasadena home and never came back. He left Dorothy, her mother Beulah, and her 3 sisters to survive the Great Depression alone. Beulah, who had never worked a day in her life, became a janitor. Dorothy gave up her college dreams to help around the house. And somewhere inside her, something broke that would spend decades trying to repair itself through journal writing, through photography, through her children's achievements. Diane was 9 years old when she saw her mother crowned Mrs. Highland Park on a vast stage at the movie theater on Figueroa Street. The red velvet curtain opened to reveal an RCA Victor television, a Philco washer and dryer, Samsonite luggage, a fashion wardrobe, 6 flasks of Evening in Paris perfume. Her mother stood in the spotlight like a movie star. And young Diane felt something she would later describe as terribly exciting, yet extremely unpleasant. A betrayal, yes, but also something worse. She thought, I secretly wished it would have been me on that stage, not her. 6 months later, Dorothy was crowned Mrs. Los Angeles. And Diane knew, with the certainty that shapes a life, that she would spend the rest of her days trying to stand in that spotlight herself. But there was darkness in that house nobody talked about. Her younger brother Randy cried constantly. He was afraid of everything, the outdoors, airplanes flying overhead, the dark. Once Diane pushed him off a dirt hill onto a sycamore log. He broke his leg, but he never told their parents. Randy stayed loyal. Years later, Diane would write, "When I look back on Randy, I just think, wow, I wish I could have been a better sister." Their father wanted Randy to man up, to play baseball, to be normal. But Randy could not be normal. By his early 20s, he was drinking heavily. Bipolar disorder, schizoid personality disorder, alcoholism, violent fantasies he never acted on. While Diane's star was rising in New York, Randy was living in squalor in Orange County, once found sitting under a pepper tree drinking a quart of Cuervo Gold tequila in actress Carol Kane's front yard.
Nothing's happened to us.
Don't tell me nothing.
Anthony's fine now.
Anthony is not
I don't want to hear about it.
The two paths, sister and brother, had diverged completely. At 19, Diane moved to Manhattan with dreams of becoming someone. She studied under Sanford Meisner at the neighborhood playhouse. She worked as a coat check girl. She auditioned for everything. In 1968, she was cast as an understudy in the Broadway production of Hair, gaining attention by refusing to remove her clothes like the other performers. But then came the request that would haunt her for 5 years. They asked her to lose 10 pounds for the lead role. And something inside Diane, something fragile and desperate for approval, snapped. She began eating 20,000 calories a day, then vomiting it all up. A bucket of chicken, several orders of fries with blue cheese and ketchup, a couple of television dinners, a quart of soda, pounds of candy, a whole cake. Then the bathroom. Then again. She called it the lowest point of her life. She was, in her own words, a fat person, an obese person who had somehow tricked myself and managed to hide it. For 4 years she lived this lie, this secret life of binging and purging, becoming a master at hiding any evidence. Bulimia, she later said, takes a lot of time out of your day. Someone finally mentioned she seemed to have mental issues. She went to an analyst 5 days a week for over a year. The talking cure, she called it. Once you talk about it, you own it. But the admission would remain, forever. I'm an addict in recovery. I'll always be an addict. I have an addictive nature to me. Her breakthrough came in 1969 when Woody Allen saw her audition for his play. Play it again, Sam. He thought, if Huckleberry Finn was a gorgeous young woman, he'd be Keaton. They were both shy, both awkward at first. But by the time the show opened in Washington, they had fallen into something like love. She moved into his Manhattan apartment. He wrote films for her, with her, about her. Everything was beginning. In 1972, Francis Ford Coppola cast her as Kay Adams in The Godfather opposite Al Pacino. It was her breakout role, but during the screen test, something else happened. Coppola asked her, "What do you think of Al?" She replied, "I think he's great." The crush was immediate, though their relationship would not begin until The Godfather. By the mid-1970s, Diane Keaton was becoming famous. Sleeper, Love and Death, Looking for Mr. Goodbar. And then in 1977, Annie Hall. Woody Allen wrote it specifically for her, using her real last name Hall, her nickname Annie. The role won her the Academy Award for Best Actress.
It's simply terrific. Naturally, I'm very honored to have been nominated. Anyway, Annie Hall was a wonderful experience for me, and I just would like to say thanks to Woody and thank you. Thank you very much.
Her oversized menswear, her mannerisms, her la-di-da way of speaking became a national craze. Woody would later say he made movies for an audience of one, Diane Keaton. He never read reviews, cared only what she thought. But here is what was happening while she collected awards and traveled the world. Back in Santa Ana, her mother Dorothy was sitting alone at a desk, writing in journals that no one was supposed to read. And her brother Randy was descending deeper into isolation, alcoholism, mental illness. Diane later confessed, "I feel like my life was so involved with moving around and performing and being in these films. I kind of abandoned them." One day in the mid-70s, Diane was printing photographs in her mother's darkroom when she found something she had never seen before. A journal, part diary and part sketchbook, titled, "It's the Journey That Counts, Not the Arrival." Inside were Dorothy's unvarnished thoughts about her 31-year marriage to Jack Hall. One entry, dated August 2, 1976, warned, "Watch out on this page." Dorothy had written about a blow-up where she called Jack, "you friggin' bastard," and ended with, "God, who the hell does he think he is?" Diane wrote in her memoir, "This was raw, too raw. I didn't want to know about an aspect of mother's and father's life that could shatter my perception of their love." She put the journal down, walked out of the darkroom, and did not open another one of her mother's 85 journals until Dorothy died 30 years later in 2008. The truth was waiting. Diane Keaton never married. She dated 3 of the most legendary men in Hollywood, loved them deeply, and lost them all. Woody Allen was the first. They lived together in New York, collaborated on 8 films, created cinematic history. But something, Woody later wrote, something only God and Freud might understand, kept them from lasting. They broke up in the mid-70s, though they remained friends and collaborators for 6 decades. When she died in October 2025, Woody wrote, "A few days ago, the world was a place that included Diane Keaton. Now, it's a world that does not. Hence, it's a drearier world." Then came Warren Beatty around 1979. She had loved him since seeing Splendor in the Grass in 1961. When they made Reds together in 1981, he was both her co-star and director. The relationship lasted about 5 years, but filming nearly broke her. Beatty was obsessive, relentless, pushing her through difficult scene after difficult scene. An assistant director said, "Diane almost got broken." Their relationship barely survived the shoot. When it ended, they remained friends. In 2016, Beatty called her brilliant, beautiful, passionate, a combination of integrity and humor and intelligence. But it was Al Pacino who became the love of her life. They met during The Godfather but did not start dating until Part 2 in 1974. Their on-again, off-again relationship lasted nearly 20 years. She was mad for him, she said. Charming, hilarious, a non-stop talker. There was an aspect of him that was like a lost orphan, like this kind of crazy idiot savant. And oh, gorgeous. Around 1990, Diane gave Al an ultimatum, or marriage or nothing. He chose nothing. She later admitted, "I worked hard on that one. I went about it in not a perfect way." After the split, they never spoke again, despite living near each other in Beverly Hills. When asked why, Al told a friend, "There's no need to talk with each other. We said everything that needed to be said at the time." When Diane died, a friend revealed that Al Pacino now regrets never marrying her. "I know he will forever regret he didn't make his move when he had the chance." For years after he and Diane split, Al used to say, "If it's meant to be, it's never too late for a do-over." But sadly, now it is. Years later, Diane admitted why marriage never happened. "I had some insane idea that I had to be in love. Now I see what it really takes. Real consideration that you're a good team together." But she also admitted something else. By the way, no one has ever asked me to marry them either. When Dorothy Hall died on September 18, 2008, after a 15-year battle with Alzheimer's, Diane finally opened those 85 journals. What she found inside changed everything. The perfect marriage, the ideal California family, was a lie. Dorothy revealed that Jack had an explosive temper that left her with red bruises on her face, black and blue marks on her arms and legs. She wrote about loneliness, depression, thoughts of ending her life. After the children left home, Dorothy slid into drinking and despair. She was an aspiring writer and photographer who had shelved her dreams to raise 4 children, and the resentment bled through every page. But Dorothy kept writing even as Alzheimer's stole her mind. June 1993, in a shaky hand, "This is the day I heard I have the beginning of Alzheimer's disease." Scary. When she could no longer write paragraphs, she wrote sentences. Would we hurt each other less if we touched each other more? When she could not write sentences, she wrote words. Rent, call, flowers, car, and her favorite word, think. When she could not write, she started writing numbers. She would not give up. Dorothy had once written, "Every living person should be forced to write an autobiography. They should have to go back and unravel and disclose all the stuff that was packed into their lives. If I would be totally honest, I think I could reach a point where I'd begin seeing me in a more understandable light." Diane wrote in response, "I wish she had written her autobiography. And because she didn't, I've written not my memoir, but ours. Meanwhile, Randy continued his descent. By 2020, he was 71 years old, living in an assisted living facility with dementia. Diane visited him every Sunday, like going to church, she said. They would walk around, sit at the frozen yogurt store, wheelchair him around the grounds. With dementia, his violent fantasies had faded, but Diane did not know if he even recognized her anymore. She wrote, "At 71 years of age, Randy is in the process of dying." The shocking truth from the diaries was this: behind the perfect family was abuse, alcoholism, broken dreams. Behind the confident star was bulimia, insecurity, three great loves who would not commit. Behind the success was guilt over the family she abandoned. The woman the world saw as quirky, confident, original, spent her entire life feeling not good enough. At 50 years old, Diane adopted a daughter named Dexter, born December 15, 1995. 5 years later, at 55, she adopted a son named Duke, born February 8, 2000. She raised them as a single mother, and it changed everything. "I didn't think I was ever going to be prepared to be a mother," she said. But motherhood was not an urge I couldn't resist. It was more like a thought I'd been thinking for a very long time. So I plunged in. She called it the most completely humbling experience she ever had. Before kids, if I worried, it was only about myself. But that's all you do is worry as a parent. It's rule number 1 in parenting: secretly worry without letting the kids know you're worried. In 2014, Dexter posted a Mother's Day tribute. "I'm so thankful to have been adopted by such a strong, beautiful, and talented woman. I couldn't thank you enough for everything you've done for me. I love you." In June 2021, Dexter married racer Jordan White. Diane wore a head-to-toe white pantsuit and her signature hat, dancing with her daughter at the wedding. Diane also found redemption in real estate, her second career flipping historic properties across Los Angeles. She restored homes designed by Lloyd Wright and Wallace Neff, sometimes earning more from real estate than from acting. Her Brentwood estate, built from 75,000 hand-picked clay bricks, was her dream realized. She remembered the story of the 3 little pigs from childhood. At 5 years old, she knew she would live in a brick house when she grew up. By writing memoirs, then again in 2011, brother and sister in 2020, she found a way to make sense of the chaos, to understand her mother, to forgive herself for Randy, to own her story. In her final months, Diane withdrew from the world. She stopped her daily dog walks. She lost significant weight. A friend who saw her just weeks before her death said, "She was very thin. She had lost so much weight." In March 2025, she listed her beloved Brentwood home for nearly $29 million, an unexpected move after spending 8 years renovating it. In her final months, a source said, she was surrounded only by her closest family, who chose to keep things very private. Even longtime friends weren't fully aware of what was happening. Saturday, October 11, 2025, at 79 years old, Diane Keaton died. The cause of death has not been officially released. She left behind an estate worth $100 million, 2 children who adored her, and a legacy that spans 5 decades of film. But the shocking truth revealed in those diaries, in her memoirs, in the life she lived, is this: Diane Keaton spent her entire life chasing what she first wanted at 9 years old, standing in that audience watching her mother crowned on stage. To be seen, to be chosen, to be enough. She won an Oscar, dated legends, built an empire. And still, somewhere inside, she was that 9-year-old girl wishing it had been her in the spotlight. Her mother Dorothy wrote one word over and over in those journals: think. And perhaps that is the universal message, the wisdom Diane left behind. Think about who you are when no one is watching. Think about the secrets you carry. Think about whether the approval you are chasing will ever be enough. Think about the people you love while you still have time. Woody Allen wrote after her death, "Unlike anyone the planet has experienced or is unlikely to ever see again, her face and laugh illuminated any space she entered. Now it's a world that does not include her. Hence, it's a drearier world. If this story moved you, if you learned something about Diane Keaton you never knew, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us continue telling these stories that matter. Diane Keaton is survived by her daughter Dexter, her son Duke, her sisters, Dory and Robin, and her brother Randy. But more than that, she is survived by the truth she finally told. The truth that even icons are human, that even legends are afraid, that even the woman in the menswear and the oversized hat, the woman who made Annie Hall and The Godfather iconic, spent her life feeling like she was not quite enough. The diaries revealed the shocking truth. And the shocking truth is this: she was always enough, and May Common, she just never believed it.